Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Digital Factories Summit. It's a great pleasure to host today's session with Professor Henrik von Scheel, recognized as one of the originators of Industry 4.0 and co-founder of Strategic Intelligence at the World Economic Forum. Thank you for joining us here at the Digital Factories Summit, Henrik von Scheel.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks a lot for being with us today. We are honored to have you with us, and I would like to begin our conversation as we have limited time. So, as artificial intelligence rapidly advances, the boundaries of industrial transformation are being redefined. So, how is Industry 4.0 evolving with the rise of AI? Is it time to start talking about Industry 5.0 or even 6.0?
It's actually a good question. But I think that's a little bit too much marketing, right? So the fourth industrial revolution started in 2009, and industrial revolution is the colliding of trends, and it changes everything in human society. How we interact, how we consume, how we trade, our competitiveness, everything in a faster time than ever before. So the fourth industrial revolution is the biggest transformation to human side because it touches us. So an industrial revolution has never taken 15 years. It takes minimum until 2050. And there are 8 phases within industrial revolution. There are 89 mega trends, and they're technology trends, economic trends, workforce trends, regulatory trends, geopolitical trends, demographic trends, consumer trends, and space trends. And all of them are colliding together, and they're creating exponential effects. So in these 8 evolutions of revolutions, we are actually in the 4th. We are now in something called the economic revolution. So before that, there was a digital revolution. Then there's an technology revolution. Then there's an environment revolution, which is a regulatory revolution, and then the economic revolutions. I'm going through what are the 3 phases a little bit later. Then we're coming to the bio-revolutions, which will be the biggest change to human mankind by 2030, and then we're going to the consumer revolution, then to the fusion revolution, and then to the quantum revolution. So we have one heck of a way to go. Mm-hmm. So if somebody talks about the Industry 5.0, I read about it, and Industry 5.0 is a European investment project in Spain. People are defining it as agile, human-centric, all of this. It's just ChatGPT marketing hallucination. Industrial revolution takes minimum 5 decades to really emerge, and an industrial revolution can never be a method like agile or people-centric, because at the core of the fourth industrial revolution is always people, because people are the centerpiece of this. It's never technology.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people are the center of every revolution. So, but let's talk a little bit about the digital factories as we are talking about this concept today.
Yeah.
This concept of digital factory is becoming increasingly central to future production strategies. So how will digital factories be shaped in the age of AI? Could you share 3 or 4 key features?
So if you look a little bit how we have evolved, right? So in the beginning of 2000, we got ERP, we got business intelligence, we got supply chain management, we got customer relationship management. So we got systems that are hardcore, but these systems support the non-core of an organization. So AI supports there very much in terms of digital sensory connectivity, robotic process optimization, virtualization of data. So you can optimize, you can lower your cost, and you can increase your operational excellence. That's around 70% of the organizations. However, 15% of the organizations is digitalization. And digitalization is where you do digital sensory connectivity, digital engineering, and digital operations. So in manufacturing, you have the EMS or OMM, which is really, really important for it. So the big difference in digitalization is before in 2011, when it merged, digitalization was like IoT. You connected devices, machines with humans, with workflow and so on. But at this time now, the second wave of digitalization has hit. And this is where you are taking control of the system that manages you, like SAP or Oracle. So the systems are running you, but now you can take control of your business, because many businesses in manufacturing, all of them are running their business in something called an integrated business plan. And an integrated business plan is an Excel sheet where the whole company is managed in terms of risk management, profit and loss, cost, headcount distribution, and so on. This is 5% of the organizations that is strategic and unique, and the 70% is only connected with digitalization. And this is where you connect the automation with the intelligence together to get more informed decisions to take that. So there's a shift in digitalization. So the first shift in digitalization is to get your digital assembly line connected with assets and all of this. You digitalize and send to connect to be smarter. You can get lower cost of this, and you can get more efficiency out of this. But the big move on now is saying, if you do the legwork on AI, you can actually leverage and connect your company objectives with the lower end, right? So this is far more than automation, because this is where you do digital re-engineering. This is where you do corporate re-engineering. So new principles emerge on corporate level that you can use. So, for example, a manufacturer that has a warehouse management, and he can do digitalization in his warehouse management, and he can focus on this, and he can continually see how many products do I have coming in from my procurement, how many do I have in my assembly line, and how many customers do I have to send out. Within that period of time, he can put something like an inventory and financing around it with an insurance wrapper, because you can digitalize it and you can assets. So you can take 80% of your assets out of your warehouse and out of your balance sheets, right? So digitalization is more than just lowering your costs. It's actually expanding your business. But in order to do this, you need to have the first two steps before. So there's a huge potential in it. But if I'm very honest with you, most organizations have not even done the fundamental steps on digitalization yet, right? They need to do the nitty-gritty to make sure they can move to the next step.
Mm. And regarding digitalization and digital factories, there's also an ongoing global debate about automation and the future of work. Much of the conversation today revolves around job losses and robots replacing workers. So will next generation digital production environments turn into fully humanless factories? Are we entering the era of dark factory, which we have been talking about for centuries?
No. You know, this is marketing, creating the thing of format that you're missing something out. When you're practical in manufacturing, you know that 70% of your organizations you can automate because it's non-core. But actually, what I experience is that you need to invest twice as much in people than you need to invest in technology. So even if you have less people, you need to invest more in the people to do that, right? So here's manufacturing at the core. Manufacturing is suffering from something called Peter's principles. Peter's principle is that you promote people to incompetence because they need to do more and more, but you don't have the ability to educate them. And that reaches an element where you become unable to deliver. So manufacturing needs to invest minimum 2 to 3 times in people rather than technology. Why is that important? So when you look at this, if you sit in the whole audience and you ask them how many are project management certified in manufacturing, in an audience of 100 people, you will probably have 10 people that are project management certified. However, if you do the future work, if you align your organizations, the executive office is a portfolio manager. The managers are program managers, right? And then you have portfolio managers. So all of this combines all into one skill that everybody is part of a project in somebody else. So if you want to align the organization to the future work, you do this via project management. So you align the goals, you align the objectives, you align the budgets in terms of how fast you are. So you realize very fast many organizations need to invest in the people, to upskill the people, and they need to focus on aligning the project management in terms of goals and skills, right? So here's an important thing I need to mention in digitalization and manufacturing. The core of manufacturing is innovation that comes from engineering. So engineering is this core skill of manufacturing. So the backbone of Turkey is engineering, because that's where innovation happens. Innovation does not happen in service industries. It happens in manufacturing. You produce products, you design products, you combine products, right? You are redesigning organizations, how you do. So the bad news is Europe has the lowest output of engineers, but the good news is Turkey has a good input on engineers. And engineers need to learn to build their own assembly line. They need to manage their assembly line, virtualize their assembly line, automate their assembly line, operate their assembly line. So all of this is hardcore engineering work. You need to redesign the product. You need to find a new way to move supply chain from a cost center to a profit center. So there's more than enough job for engineering skills to re-innovate, right? So Turkey is in a quite unique position. And they're in a unique position because they are the growth engine of Europe. Europe is actually in a recession. You have Nordic is working, they have an average of 1.5% of growth. Spain, 1.7%. And Poland is the big growth engines with 2.4%. And the big growth engines is Turkey. They are the growth engine of Europe. And here's the funny thing. They have always been made fun of Europe, that they are playing a half role, 1 foot in Europe, 1 foot in there, right? Turkey is one of the big 5 powers that are coming. You have the major industries in manufacturing. You are the head road towards Kazakhstan, all the eastern piece. You are towards the Silk Road, and you're towards Europe. So you are the center, and you're the future powerhouse that will come there. And the power resides within manufacturing. Even manufacturing is suffering. Manufacturing needs to have an ability to push in reskilling the people and focusing on engineering, push on digitalization to leverage the efficiency in our automation and lower the cost, and focus on how to do things smarter and more efficient, right? That's with performance on digitalization. So Turkey has the biggest potential of any country to focus on digitalization, and especially in manufacturing.
Mm. Also, Turkey has a big young population, very adapted digitalization. Maybe it's also a power of the country.
Yes.
So
yes.
Yeah, it's true, and it's very good to hear this from you. Thank you. So, and what about humanoid robots? What kind of transformation do you think they will bring?
So see, if we boil water, water is boiled by a certain amount of temperature. And with AI, we come with all the stress about this magic powder that is there. And like, my message is simple: the centerpiece of manufacturing is always human. And AI, we've been doing AI for many, many years. Now we do neural networks, large language models, all of this. But for manufacturing, I'm sorry, there is no magic powder. Number one, you need to own your own data. Number two, you need to be very good at owning your data and monetizing your data. And you need to, number one, monetize the existing data you have in business intelligence, the existing data, to virtualize it, to have a virtualization on your assembly line and all of this. And part of this, you cannot buy it from consultants anymore. You need to learn to manage your own data yourself. Then you need to do robotic process optimization on non-core. So on financing, on forecasting, on HR, on recruitment, all of this. This is something why nobody talks about it, because you can download it for 100, 300 euros, and you can test the models and you can implement it yourself. Then you come to the more challenging thing where you do an AGI, so workflow optimization. So you link machines, robots, workflows, assembly lines and software together in one element, right? And now this year we have this big push on AI, physical AI. You know what? If you boil the water, just normal physically AI's devices and software. That's it. So if it's a robot in your warehouse, if it's a sensory objective, if it's a virtual worker, if it's a drone, all of this, it's devices with software. And you need to learn to manage it yourself. That's basically it, right? I'm trying to boil it down for the people that listen to my voice to say, you need to do what you've done before, and you need to learn to manage data. You need to take informed decisions. You need to be digitalization, and you need to focus on investing in people.
Mm-hmm. So in one of your speeches, you mentioned that a rare opportunity emerges with AI. What exactly do you mean by that? What is that rare opportunity?
So the rare opportunity that emerges with AI is that until now, 70% of budgets in manufacturing are focusing on maintaining SAP and systems and all of this. And so they are being managed by a system that they have invested in. So this is the rare opportunity that if they do AI and digitalization correctly, they can take, like a horse that you're running, but you don't have the gear to control the horse. Now they can take the gear back on the horse and they can control in which direction. So suddenly they have an ability to control something that they were serving the system. Now the system can serve them. But you cannot buy it from a consultant company. They need to learn it themselves and need to implement it themselves, right? And that's why an event that you have is quite important, that you are educating them on what is there, right? And as any organizations, you always need to be aware of what is my core skill, what do I need to know, and how do I need to manage it, and which consultants can help me with it, right? That means you need to have a strategic thinking and system thinking. That's the new principles you need at executive level before you engage a consultant. Whatever magic powder the consultant is spraying on you, you need to realize if that is actually what you need, and will that give you the outcome that you want.
Mm-hmm. So we talked a lot about this digital factory concept, AI, and future. So in the new era of manufacturing and digital factories, what will no longer have a place? This is my last question.
I think everything will have a place in there, right? I think a company will decide on, if this is not core, how can I lower the cost as much as possible, right? I also would be careful, because it's the same thing with ERP. People jump on ERP because I need ERP, right? ERP costs 10 to 20 million, right? You need to assess how many people are maintaining my Excel sheet and manage my sourcing and my product and so on. And before you say, I'm investing 20 million, and for 20 million, I have an operational cost of 4 million. If your operational cost of the people is already just 2 million, you should never go for the other piece, because there has been no return on investment on ERP. All the return on investment that we are putting is just baloney. So we have to be very careful. Once they have ERP and they have systems, then they can automate it, they can leverage it, right? So you need to establish data, manage data, and drive digitalization with data, right? Is there a better advantage to take informed decisions with data? Yes. Can you create a more automated company? Yes, with lower costs. Can you create a more smarter company that can deliver it? Very much so, right? It goes a little bit this way. I want to demonstrate it. It goes a little bit this way, right? If this is an activity and this is the input and this is the output, everything we measure in an organization is output driven. That's automation. And the company can finally decide 15% of the information, which is performance driven, like warehouse management or complex activity, needs to be meanwhile it happens. So they are structuring their organizations to take the information that they need, take empowered decision to get better pricing, build better relationships, serve customers better, deliver better product, and all of this, right? So AI can be used in many ways.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for all the messages and insight you shared with us, Professor von Scheel. Is there anything you would like to add before ending this session?
Yes. This is probably the best time to be in manufacturing. Everybody thinks it's the worst time. No, it's probably the best time, right? Because if you focus on innovation, innovation happens in manufacturing. The supply chain is about to be reset from a cost center to a profit center. Manufacturing has more technology and tools to leverage their own ability. So this is the greatest time to be in manufacturing. New leadership skills. So what they need to focus on retraining the leadership skills to take informed decisions, to train them on how do I take strategic decisions, how do I take system decisions, how to drive change in my organizations, right? How do I create new products, right? Because Turkey is in the best place to be positioned to take the future. And Turkey can only be a player in the future with very strong manufacturing. I know high energy prices, I know all the elements that they're coming with, but the problems are actually an opportunity to solve, because it's not only Turkey that has problems. The other countries are suffering more, so Turkey can take an advantage of this. So here's an advantage of being a conference like this. You share a common view, and by sharing a common view, you can see the same problems. By seeing the same problems, you can define the same approach, how to approach it. What do you get out of that? You can define best practices. Best practices is everything which is non-core, you don't need to redefine. So do you need to redefine how to implement robotic process optimization? No. Can you share best practices? Yes, you can.
It's a very important message. Thank you. And we have so many decision makers, CEOs, founders listening to us today. So this message is really important. Thanks a lot, Professor von Scheel, and thanks a lot for being with us today. And thank you everyone for listening to us today, and enjoy the rest of today.